Good morning, hello. Welcome to the UKTV controllers session. It's slightly too early. Just for those of you, it is bright, not for them though. For those of you who don't know what UKTV is, it's essentially all the TV in the UK. There's a couple of other channels, but it's basically everything. These guys are all from UKTV. The names are there, but we've got Adrian, Steve, Hilary, and Richard Watsham. My favourite of the four.
Hold on.
Just a little bit. I prefer him, that's all it is, Steve. And my name's Alex Horne. A little bit about me, I'm originally from Sweden, which is nice. Swindon, I'm from Swindon, horrible place. And I've made that joke in Edinburgh for 12 years now, and it's always funny, because Swindon is always awful. So this is a session where you can find out about UKTV. I'm going to be asking you guys questions, you're going to be answering them. You can also ask them questions yourselves, and they've come up with a very good system now to save time. So now you don't have to say anything, all you have to do is download an app, type in your question, and we'll go through into that, then I'll read out your question, and that, I reckon, will shave minutes off the session. But you do have, you have to go to either the Take Part tab or the Programme Session tab, and if you've got last year's app, you have to delete that first and download. So it's a good system.
Quite complicated.
I'm here because you guys commissioned a programme of mine 2 years ago called Taskmaster, and if you don't know what that is, we're going to demonstrate what that is over the next hour, because these 4 people have agreed to take part in a very small version of Taskmaster. Normally Taskmaster is a entertainment format where 5 comedians take part in challenges to impress Greg Davies. And today we neither have Greg Davies nor 5 comedians, and I think it's a good format and it will be fine. But one of the main format points of Taskmaster is that the prizes are all brought in by the comedians themselves, so it's cheaper that way. And we give them a category and they have to bring in something that fits into that category, and the winner of the programme wins all those items. So I've asked the 4 of these guys to bring in something today. I don't know what they are, but the category was, I asked them to bring in the most typically Scottish thing, because that way someone will offend someone, and that's funny. So they're going to, Adrian, we're going to start with you. What typically Scottish thing have you brought in? And why do you think it's going to be the most typically Scottish?
Do you want me to display it and announce it and everything now? Or I can just...
I reckon now, yeah.
Pretty good time.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was good.
Good.
This format's clunky, you know.
It's not, in the edit, it'll be fine.
Is this how it works in the show? Okay, so last night, this was quite hard to find, but I was at a dinner and feeling hungry and walking home, and hang on.
Can I just check? What I'm hoping is none of you have gone down the cliched route of fast food.
Yeah.
Right, okay, what have you brought?
Deep fried Mars bar.
Deep fried Mars bar?
Yeah, it's actually a Scottish meal, because I also have an iron brew.
Iron brew.
Can we see yours? Is it really a deep fried?
It's really a deep fried Mars bar with a fork and a napkin.
Can we see the deep fried Mars bar, just so we know they actually
verify.
exist? Yeah. Wow. Do we have any
Pick it
Scots?
up.
You could eat some. I think you should eat it.
How many Scots do we have in? Any Scots? Okay. I'll probably use you, madam, if that's all right, to judge this, because I have no power or confidence. Okay, so we've got a deep fried Mars bar. I'm going to go to, I'm going to do it in order. Hello, Steve North.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
What typically Scottish thing have you brought in?
Can I, just before I show my typically Scottish thing, can I say that I love Scotland? I spend a lot of time in Scotland. I've married a Scottish woman. My children are half Scottish.
You could have brought them in.
And therefore, sorry?
You could have brought
I could have brought them in, they would be typically Scottish. So I do love Scotland, but I do think the most typically Scottish thing is a wooden spoon. Because Scotland are...
It's gone down well. It's gone down.
Historically valiant in their efforts to win sporting occasions and sporting events, but don't typically do that well.
Well, you've won the room over, so that's...
just to add, I did pass my wife to see if she was going to divorce me or not, and she said she was completely happy with that. She thought that was typically Scottish.
Okay.
But she did ask me to then also mention, in Scotland's defence, that at least they have their own national theme tune in Flower of Scotland, whereas us English, we just steal God Save the Queen.
Theme tune? I've never heard it been described as this.
Well, theme tune, national anthem.
Okay, so someone's going to win a spoon and a Mars bar. Hilary, what have you brought in? Hello, Hilary.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. I was going to make a rude comment about my favourite Taskmaster person.
Oh, right.
Possibly not being you, Alex.
Oh, really?
Possibly being Greg.
Okay.
My preferred.
Are you going to make that comment?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
'cause I'm
good.
really quite desperate to win this.
Right.
I can't get up. I'm rooted to the ground because of my radio mic. This is my typically Scottish thing.
Oh, very good. That's good.
And actually, if I were to stand up, we are the same height, Nicola and I.
Yeah.
How on
A
earth
lot
did
in
you get
common.
hold of that?
Stole it.
So they were set this challenge, 3 days ago, and you were on holiday
I
in
was
Spain?
in Spain.
where I was.
I'd just like you to know that I organised Nicola.
Was Nicola in
via
Spain?
There was a moment when I was told that there was some confusion at Nicola HQ and possibly Angela Merkel might be arriving.
Okay, so that's clearly the winner so far. Richard, very briefly, what have you brought in?
Very briefly,
Yes.
so you're right that normally it's much cheaper to get the people to bring their own gifts in, but I didn't want to insult the people of Scotland by bringing in fast food or a wooden spoon. So I brought in an original oil painting by the Dundee artist Jack Payton of a Highland cow.
Right, okay,
And it's all time.
fine.
So you went
How
and
much
you
did it
bought-
cost?
Sorry, you bought a painting? You went and bought the
It
painting?
was, I won't divulge how much it cost, but it,
Well, you
but
could
it's,
do.
I really want to win
It's
this.
hundreds. Low hundreds, but it's...
Wow. Okay, so, yeah, I know, wow. That's a ridiculous thing
We just
to do.
ensure that Richard doesn't win this now, so he has to
Yeah,
win
yeah.
the painting.
Okay, so that's how it works. So there's another task later on in the session, and whoever does best over these two. I'm going to say that, I think I'm going to say that Nicola wins that, and then Steve, sorry, it's Richard, isn't it? Richard, then Steve, then Adrian.
What?
Okay. Well, because you brought in your dinner. Okay, the second task is right at the end of the show. I told them 2 days ago, just so we can see here, send me a photo of someone, some people holding eggs. You must be in the photo, you may not use Photoshop. Most people holding eggs in the photo wins. We'll show those at the end of the session. That's to make sure people don't leave. I mean, you can still leave, but okay, right. Let's start the session. I think we're going to start with an overview of commissioning. I should say also this is a controller session. The controller of UKTV isn't actually here. Emma Tennant.
Yeah, Emma's on long-term sick leave, so we obviously wish her well, but Steve and I are acting up on her behalf right now.
Okay, and there's been a lot of commissioning recently, I've heard. More than normal, is that right?
More,
Steve?
yeah, well, go on, Steve. You've been...
No, yeah, lots of commissioning. I think we are, we've kind of set out over the last few years quite a kind of a specific kind of ambition and focus of ourselves at UKTV to commission more, to go further into that part of the industry, and we're doing that. We're commissioning across more channels. I think we're doing a greater breadth of content and a greater depth of content within those different genres. So we're constantly expanding, doing more and more each year, and it's incredibly exciting.
Yeah, it does feel like a place, from my point of view as a comedian and I guess ideas person, a place to go, whereas 5 years ago, I guess it had a reputation for being a place where they showed repeats more and more, but now it's originals.
I think one of the things that we've tried to do over the last year is to kind of turn the corner in terms of, so we're all of our originations stand on top of a brilliant, huge depth of archive. We get lots of brilliant shows from the BBC that enable us to go and spend an increasing amount of money commissioning. And over the last year, we've just wanted to make UKTV primarily a commissioner of content. And I think that's what we're all doing. I think we're united throughout the kind of senior management team, whether it's on the editorial side or the commercial side and everywhere across the business, that we now understand that primarily UKTV is an originator of our own content, primarily, and secondarily, one that shows other people's content.
Mm-hmm. So more commissions. Anything else that's changed at UKTV recently? I was asked to ask that.
Are we?
And I've got your answer.
Have you? Excellent.
Have a little...
More currency to our content.
Oh. Well, we're doing, I think, as I mentioned, doing greater kind of breadth of content, so doing more things. So we're doing, we've done sport over the last few years. It's kind of come into part of what we've done at UKTV. More topicality, so things like Matt Ford's Unspun, taking a satirical look at the world of politics, which hasn't really been on TV for a long time. And I think that's really exciting for us because that's a bit creative, that's original, that's kind of pushing our boundaries. And that's something that we've always been really, really keen to do at UKTV is not to stay within those simple places we've been. And we've done a lot of comedy commissioning over the last couple of years, and now we're kind of expanding out. So we're doing, certainly through channels like W and Really, more kind of op-doc or reality, more documentary, more fact-dent, more pure entertainment. So breaking out from being purely a kind of comedy producer, which I think probably UKTV was seen a couple of years ago. And that's really important to us. And topicality is a really exciting area to go into, and making a show like Matt Ford's Unspun, which is big, brave, made on a weekly basis. We don't know what's going to be in that show until the news of that week is coming out. And I think that really kind of shows to our ambition as a company and how far we want to keep pushing ourselves and pushing the kind of independent production community to come to us with new, original, creative ideas, because I think we're a place that will take those ideas on board and bring them to air.
I think the thing is we're slightly liberated by being a broadcaster that doesn't rely on having to fill the schedule with origination. So actually we can really kind of cherry pick from lots of different genres. This is why we've been able to move into lots of different genres and just do little bits here and there. It's enabled us to look at the kind of huge sweep of brilliant ideas that come in to the building and to pick those that do a couple of really important things for us, which is far beyond we've got a slot at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, we've got to fill. Those things are helping define, support the tone of voice of the channel and making sure that we communicate to the audience how that channel is differentiated from other channels in the TV industry. And secondarily, it's enabled us to go and make shows that other people aren't doing, like Taskmaster, that has enabled us to get more and more talent to come and work with us because we're offering them opportunities that they don't get elsewhere. And has enabled us to go and to just explore the kind of full range of genres, really. So other than kids, which we're not doing, we don't do very much specialist factual. We don't really do much current affairs beyond Matt Ford. We can look anywhere.
Yeah, I'd say within comedy, there's a variety of genres as well. It used to be, obviously, so many panel shows. We're going to show a clip of a new show with Nick Helm. Do you want to explain what it is? Because it is quite a departure, I'd say, from a typical Dave comedy.
Yeah, I think, it's quite hard to describe what the show is. It doesn't conform to a single genre. It's not improvised comedy, it's not scripted comedy, it's not a comedy entertainment show. It's a bit of each of those things. It's also a bit kind of factual, so food's at its heart. It's fundamentally Nick Helm going around the country and into Europe and eating food and enjoying that experience. And everyone's seeing Nick Helm either through Uncle, but through his live show, you'll know that Nick does things in a very original, different way. And I think that completely comes through into the show.
Shall we see the clip?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, Islington is kind of where I really feel at home. Hello, right. That's like a Spanish tapas place. That's brilliant. There's an Italian place which is like an absolute Aladdin's cave of wonders when you go in there. Pig and Butcher, absolutely fantastic restaurant. Then we'll cut there.
Hiya, Nick. How
Hello,
are you doing?
how are you?
Nice to meet you. You look like a butcher.
I am a butcher today.
Would you like a pint? I could have a pint of Trumans, or do you insist on this one?
No, what's the one that I was having? This one?
You were having the crate.
My favourite job that I used to have was working in a bar, and because you don't get heckled so much. What's your favourite job that you've ever had?
My favourite job ever was bin man. Healthy, outdoor, finished early.
Does that look right?
That's a top pint.
Yeah?
Isn't it,
I've got
though?
to say, isn't it?
And it settles to delight. Well, cheers, love.
Thank you for coming in to do this.
Love it. Feels like first date.
And you're one of my all-time heroes of all time.
Oh, well, that's very kind, Nick. I assumed you wouldn't have heard of me, because I feel like Arthur Askey these days, you know what I mean? Somebody your mum and dad used to watch.
If you want to see more of Bob Mortimer, he's in the new series of Taskmaster, which starts September the 13th at 9 p.m.
What you don't quite get in that clip is that there is Ian, who's just in the front row here, who commissioned it, as he worked with Nick and the team to give it a kind of story. So there's a narrative thread that goes through is it a spoiler alert if I say what happens at the very beginning of the first episode? At the very beginning of the first episode, Nick breaks up with his girlfriend. And that kind of story, which may or may not occasionally be partly scripted or may not be, it's kind of woven throughout the episode. So there's a couple of layers to it. So it enabled us to go and do something in the food space with a kind of Dave voice to it, but to do it with a kind of twist that we didn't think had been done before.
And also, it's launches tonight at 8 o'clock, if everyone wants to watch it. And importantly for us, it is 8 o'clock, so it's pre-watershed, so it's pre that 9 o'clock hour. And we've done a lot of commissioning across the channels at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and we haven't done a great deal into that kind of early peak area. So that's an area that we are looking to expand into. And historically, again, that's been a space in the schedule that we've filled with acquisitions, but we increasingly want to get more new original content to those areas. So this is a test of us to try and get that Dave sensibility, that Dave's tone of voice, but into that earlier part of the schedule.
Adrian, I'm still disappointed about the Mars bar, but can you tell me about the channel Really? Because I've not found it yet, and I don't know what it is, but I know some of the things you've got on it, and it sounds good to me.
It's on Freeview, and of course this is another space that we're actively commissioning into. So the big shows that we've got just typically at the moment, so Helicopter ER, which we're commissioning the second series of, Into the Fire, which premieres in 2018, and I think we're announcing today Nhs Rescue Squad. So a lot of blue light shows, which we find really work very well for us.
Is it sort of Flying Doctors, that sort of thing? Did you watch Flying Doctors?
No, it's the Nhs Rescue Squad are a very particular band of elite paramedics and medics who go to all of the most extreme crashes or terrorist incidents. So they're really at the sharp end of paramedics. We've had a really big success with a show that we've commissioned on W called Inside the Ambulance, which has put a fixed rig inside an ambulance, and we've recommissioned 2 more series of that. And we're sort of building on what we know is the audience's love of those kind of fly-on-the-wall paramedic, really gaining a real insight into what those jobs involve. The Nhs Rescue Squad, which AirTV are making, it's the first time that this elite team of paramedics and medics have ever been filmed. So it'll be something that we hope we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So I think a bit like the Nick Helm show with that kind of twist, every time we go and work in a different genre, be it a genre that there are quite a few examples of already, we always want to try and come at it from a slightly different angle. So first of all, we're always trying to reach a certain threshold in terms of quality, but also to have something about it. So Hilary's show Inside the Ambulance, with a fixed rig inside the back of an ambulance, felt like something that had never really been done to the extent that we'd done it before. Into the Fire has 150 cameras on the West Midlands Fire Brigade. And so every time that they go out, and actually, importantly, the cameras for the first time can go into the flames, so they can withstand heats of up over 1,000 centigrade. So it felt like a kind of nice twist for us, again, to be able to do something that hadn't been done before, which is to take cameras properly into the fire.
And that doing something that hasn't been done before, I think it's really important. We don't have a terrestrial parent channel, if you like, we don't have the ability of sticking an ad off the back of EastEnders and telling 8 million people about new shows. Our shows have got to stand on their own 2 feet, and they've got to stand out in what's increasingly crowded and difficult marketplace. So that originality, that creativity, doing something that hasn't been done before is paramount to the kind of shows that we commission.
It sounds churlish, but I've got to go back to comedy now, back to scripted comedy, because this is an area where, again, you're commissioning more. And we've got another clip from a new show, Porters.
Yep.
Which starts tonight, is it, as well?
No, starts in the autumn.
All right, okay. Do you want to explain what it is before the clip, so it makes sense, because it's a great clip?
You can go for it.
So Porters is a story of Simon Porter, who wanted to be a doctor, but has dropped out of medical school and ends up working as a porter in a hospital. So there's a bit of kind of upstairs, downstairs with the Porters is a great cast. Ed Easton plays Simon Porter brilliantly, as you're going to see in the clip. And I think in this clip, there's a nice surprise guest star as well. But in this clip, he's got himself into sight scrapes, telling a family that their relative is alive when in fact he's dead. So he's got to cover it up.
Okay, right, so this is Porters. I think it's a good example of how your channel brings for a new talent. So Ed is from Gaines Family Gift Shop, which started here at the Fringe, and then Kelsey Grammer. How did you get
Kelsey
him?
Grammer. How did we get Kelsey? It was
so Vadim, Gene, who directed it, is very good friends with Kelsey. Kelsey was in London, really liked the script, and was happy to come and spend a day or two filming for us.
He got paid $700,000 in the last series of Frasier per episode.
Yeah.
How much?
Just shy of that.
Put it this way, I'm not sure his involvement in this show went through his agent.
Okay.
They may not know he's ever made it.
He's also got 7 children, by the way, which I think is 5 too many children. I have 3 children. The middle one, I reckon. Get rid of the middle one. So commissioning-wise, how did that show get commissioned? Like, how does the process work?
The script came into Richard's team, and it's written by Dan Sefton, so great credibility, great kind of body of work that he's had over the last few years, and it's just a really funny script. We loved the script, and it was a show that we wanted to make. I think you read the script, and it was really straightforward to visualise that and see how that could come to air. And I think you mentioned the talent. I think what's great about that is there are some established names and they're well-known names that's important for us to help kind of drive awareness of that show. But then it's also supporting new talent. So there's new people like Ed and Sharon in there who are getting a chance to have a voice and hopefully and then kind of give them a chance to do their thing.
One of the things I think is really important to understand about that. So Dan brought the script in, and it's slightly different now from how it was, but it kind of taps into something that is the same for all of our programming. I'm very aware that people have a certain view of Dave, and it's probably about 12 months old, just because they may not watch it all the time. And actually, our view of Dave is kind of 12 months in the future. So there's a kind of 2-year gap, really, in terms of people's perception and where we're trying to get to. And when Dan brought the script in, it just felt a little bit older, and he was brilliant at going away and just giving it making it a little bit edgier, because I think there's just a perception that's not what Dave is or has been. We're quite keen to make it a bit younger and a bit edgier. So he went away and rewrote the first episode quite significantly to make it about 10 years younger. And you see Susan McComber in there and Ed Easton, again, both brilliant kind of up-and-coming actors. And but also to give it a bit of edge and just make it a bit kind of spikier. And we're quite keen going forward. And as I say, this isn't just about scripted comedy. This is about other areas of programming as well, just to bring things a little bit younger on Dave, and not to kind of get caught up in our expectation of, or our old expectation of what Dave is.
I suppose it's a mix now, isn't it? Because the new program's coming up. You've got Red Dwarf, it's new Red Dwarf.
Yep.
And then something like Zapped.
Yeah. So we did a screening last night for the first episode of the new series for Red Dwarf, which went down incredibly well. And again, that's such great credibility to it. That Doug Naylor is a writer and that incredible cast, and that drives great awareness for us. And it's brilliantly funny series, and it's still funny even 30 years on from its kind of initial conception. And then Zapped, which we launched last year, that follows our strategy, as Richard said, of starting things smaller. So we did 3 episodes last year of Zapped, and we've done 3 episodes for the first run of Porters this year. 3 episodes of Zapped last year did incredibly well for us, performed in massive numbers for us for a new series and for any new comedy series, over 500,000 viewers, which is great for any new piece of scripted comedy. So we're now bringing that back as a full series of 6 this year, and it'll partner with Red Dwarf in the schedule. So again, we're still supporting that. We're still trying to make sure that we're giving that show every encouragement, every opportunity to drive big audiences. And then we'll launch Porters in the audience in the autumn as well on to Dave. So 3 new pieces of scripted comedy going into the autumn schedule. And then also from scripted, we're still commissioning scripted comedy on Gold as well. So second series, The Rebel, returns with Simon Callow returning into reprising his role in the autumn on Gold, and also a new show called Murder on the Blackpool Express, written by Jason Cook, with likes of Johnny Vegas starring in that, and a massive cast with Griffith Jones, Una Stubbs, Sean Gibson. Incredible kind of entourage of array of kind of talent in that show. So we're absolutely still driving forward into commissioning scripted.
I at this point have to remind you that you can ask questions via the app, I think you have to do it that way. I think you could just ask me, but no, you can't, because we've bought an app. But Hilary, do you want to talk about other talent? Because we've heard a lot about the comedy talent across your channels. Other talent, and who's been your favourite to work with? I have to ask you that.
I would have said you.
Yes.
Prior to your preference for Richard.
You did win the first task.
But actually, it is you.
Thank you, Hilary. That's not what I was expecting you to say, but that's fine.
You expect me to say Greg?
No, I was expecting you to say Davina.
Davina.
Because Davina's
I think it would be deeply invidious for me to say who was my favourite, because actually, I think one of the great things about working at UKTV is we are, in terms of our commissioning might, it's relatively small to some other channels, but our ability to work with best people in the industry just grows and grows. And so a couple of years ago, John Bishop came to us to talk about a show that he was passionately keen to make in conversation with John Bishop. It was a departure from the usual stand-up and the stuff that he'd been doing to date, and he's also broken into acting. But his absolute desire was to do a Parkinson-style, in-depth conversational chat show, 1+1 interview. That was a big departure for him. It was a massive coup for us to get John onto W. It was a brand new channel. He was there sort of at the sort of championing the channel and was, delivered fantastic profile for us. It's a brilliant show. He's interviewed extraordinary people. That felt like the beginning of a journey on a brand new channel. It was very exciting for us. We were making that show, and Davina came to us with a show that she was passionately keen to make. She'd always wanted to make a talk show, really. Is how she would describe it, and we would describe it. It's a show, so it's a show that we then commissioned, and we worked with 2020, the producer that she partnered with to make the show, and they've done a brilliant job at evolving a talk show which is really, week on week, it looks at modern dilemmas. So it might be stress, it might be happiness, it might be friendship. We've done an episode on mental health, an episode on parenting. And these are sort of touch points for all of us. We've all had experience of all of these issues. We're all deeply affected by them because we suffer from stress, or someone in our family does, or our colleagues, or whoever. And she has the ability to get people to open up in a way that I think very, very few people in the industry can. I think people really trust her and really relate to her. And one of the interesting things about the show is she's an equal participant in all the conversations. So each of the topics, she is part of that conversation. So it's kind of dinner party meets book club meets, confessional lunch with your best friends. And there's a lot of, the topics that we cover in the series are routinely covered in daytime. They are the absolute sort of stuff and fodder of Loose Women, or Good Morning Britain, or This Morning, or whatever. The really difficult and interesting and sort of knotty task was to try and work out how we elevate those conversations to peak, because obviously we're getting Davina on the channel, we're not going to put her in daytime, we're going to give her a big, shiny 9 o'clock slot. It needs to feel glossy, and it needs to feel grown up, and it needs to feel inclusive. So I think it's quite a brave show, because the show is essentially Davina and 3, 4, 5, 6 people sitting in a circle and having a deep and meaningful conversation about something that's very compelling.
Can I ask how long because what I find with UKTV, what's attractive about it is that there are fewer layers to break through.
Yeah.
When you've got an idea, you're accessible, and then you're quite open about whether or not you're interested.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a quicker process. So when Davina comes in, how long does it take between that and then it going on the telly?
It took a while because she had to find a producer. So that took a little while she sort of talked to various people and worked out who she wanted to work with, that we would be happy for her to work with. And then it took a while to sort out the deal, and it took a while to, most importantly, editorially, to fix and figure the show. But I think it's fair to say, and Richard and I were, absolutely sort of hand in glove working with Davina and her agent and 2020 to try and create the show. I don't think there was ever a point during the process where it wasn't going to happen. I think everyone had absolute faith from the minute she walked through the door that we were massively keen and excited and, very excited to be working with her. So it can be, the answer is it can be quick. I think John, when he walked through the door, we were sort of shooting that show in the hospital club
fairly soon afterwards, because it was a very clear concept. We were really keen to get it on air. We wanted it to be part of the launch of the channel. But with Davina, it took a bit longer. But we don't have sort of timelines. We don't have, unlike some other channels, we don't have, we commission in an ad hoc way. We don't have sort of periods of the year when we're commissioning. So and everyone's building up to a certain slot. So we look at ideas and we run with them as soon as we think they're going to work for the channels.
We can see a clip of it now if you want. This is Davina's new show on W. I think there's not many, so it's called the Davina Hour.
Yeah.
And there's not many people you could just have their name, and then I thought you could have the David Gower Hour. I'd watch that. An hour with Gower. What other...
Alex Hour.
No. I'd have the Sally Phillips. I'd watch the Sally Phillips Hour. She's on the next series of Taskmaster. But the talent yeah, she's really good. The talent you've attracted, it is amazing. I've got a list of Amanda Holden, David Attenborough. I don't know why they're the first two, but yeah, Attenborough, Holden, Bishop. Do you want to say some of the other names?
Well, I think what's really important now is that actually. So if I go back to, I think I've kind of said this story before, but going back to how this all came about, it kind of started on Dave really when we worked with Dara, making Dara O'Brien School of Hard Sums. Working with Dara was a real game changer for us in terms of attracting other talent, and it enabled us to go and work with Dave Gorman, Alan Davis, and a bundle of other people on Dave, and then we're doing the same kind of journey on W now. So having John Bishop, having Davina there has opened pretty much every door. So in the last kind of 3 or 4 years, we've gone from being in a place where we were kind of we were struggling to get the kinds of comics that we wanted to be on Dave, but then we got you. But now, I feel like we could go and are having conversations with pretty much anyone that we want to talk to. And the same is absolutely true in W space as well, that other than people who are exclusive to other channels, we're kind of talking to everyone else. So if we're not already making something with them, we're probably having a conversation with them, and which I think is quite exciting. So I expect a lot more.
And I think just touching on a point you made earlier, actually for us it's about working with those people and being collaborative and actually kind of, what's the show you want to make? And John Bishop was making a show that he wanted to make, you're making a show with Taskmaster that you were passionate about making. Davina, exactly the same, and touching and tapping, I guess, into their passions and the things that they want to do. I think it's really important because I think we get a better show out of it. We get people who are absolutely bought into that idea from the start. They want to support it, they want to make the best show possible. There's no guns for hire. And at the same time, it's giving them an opportunity to bring to screen the show that they really want to.
How do you judge when a programme is a success on your channel? Because I suppose the numbers are going to be smaller than the BBC One. How important are awards and how important are audience figures?
It's a mixture. I mean, and it kind of depends on what show you're making as well. I mean, something like Matt Ford on Spun, for example, I think is a massive success on the channel. It's not the biggest rating show by any stretch of the imagination, and we never expected it to be. It's a current affairs, political satire show. It's never going to be doing millions and millions of viewers for us each week. But what it does do is it gives us a voice, and it gives us as a channel and as a company, I guess, an ability to have more of an opinion on what's going on in the world and be topical in some ways. So for us, success of that show is the engagement we get from fans, it's the response we're getting from viewers and also from critics, and the quality of guests we're getting on that show. So we had Tony Blair in the last season who was willing to come on and be part of Unspun. So for us, that's successful. Similarly for Red Dwarf, for Taskmaster, the numbers that they achieve is a great sign of success. And also the award nominations. I mean, Taskmaster, as you'll know, has been nominated for pretty much every award going over the last year to 18 months.
Not one any.
I know, that's the awards fault, that's not the show. Yeah. But that's brilliant, because that shows that both viewers love that show and also the industry loves that show. So I don't think there's any one measure of success for us. It can be one of a number of things.
I think Davina's a good example. Davina hasn't gone out yet, but for us that's a success. I mean, it's an extraordinarily grown-up contemporary bit of telly that I think people wouldn't expect to see on our network. And one of the facets of our originations that we're really proud of is their ability to change people's perception about us as originators of content and as a network. That show absolutely does it. And we're immensely proud of it, however it rates.
We're going to have some questions in a minute, I think. And we're going to break up the questions by showing your responses to the task I set you. Should we start doing that now? Because we've got 20 minutes left. The task was this, just to remind you. They had 24 hours to send me a picture of as many people as possible holding eggs, including themselves. You're in last place at the moment, and
That's going to change.
it's not going to change. No, because I've seen your photo, and I guess if you were set this challenge and you're not allowed to use Photoshop, I guess your instinct would be to go to Google and type in a group of people holding eggs, and I did that, and you did that as well. I've discovered. This is. Can we see your picture now?
Yep.
So this is just to set the benchmark. That's if you go to Google and type in a group of people holding, that's the 5th image that pops up. But you are in it. You're in it, and they're all holding eggs. So we're looking at 6. So for the 6, are you holding an egg even there, Adrian?
I'm not holding.
You didn't even get an egg.
I only got the email like 3 hours before it was due to be sent to you. So.
Why? Why have you got a slow email in New Zealand? Okay, well, so far you're in first place with that, Adrian. But we're going to have a question. I'm going to ask you a question, Adrian. Oh, well, I was going to ask you this question here, but it's to anyone, I suppose. But this is, it's from, they're all anonymous questions. You can put your names in if you want to have a moment. In view of Jon Snow's McTaggart, how is UKTV boosting representation of voices from diverse socio-economic groups?
Okay.
So at UKTV, we're above the industry standard in terms of employees. We're about 17% from BAME backgrounds. So we're proud of that. I think on screen, Richard?
This is really important, as we know, and there's been lots of talk about it in the industry, and Hilary and I sit down, and the other commissioners sit down with every producer at the very beginning of production before anything is committed to paper or probably even the contracts are signed, and we sit and we talk with them about how we can improve both on-screen and off-screen diversity across all areas, socio-economic and all the other areas of diversity that need addressing. And we are now in the process of collating all the information. So we rolled that out a little while ago, and now more recently we have followed that up with a kind of a quite detailed form after every production, which asks producers to share with us both the on-screen and off-screen talent involved in it, and we are collating that. So we will get a better idea of how we're doing. I think every broadcaster can do better. It's incredibly important. I think Davina's show is a good example of something that has people in it from all walks of life. And I think we are, so in short, I suppose I think we're getting better at it, but I think we need to do more. Mm-hmm.
And I think producers are getting better at it, because I think instinctively the producers understood that the casts in each of those shows needed to be diverse. It just did not feel like a box ticking exercise. It felt like if we were going to make a contemporary show about modern dilemmas and how people felt about them and people's emotional response to difficult things, they've gone to a really broad range of people in each episode. We've got a really diverse bunch of contributors, and that just felt like a very instinctive thing. So I think it's very much a two-way process. We as broadcasters absolutely have to be clear with producers that that's our expectation, that's how we want our channels to look and feel, but I think producers increasingly understand that too.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question from before it was sent in yesterday. Can you see a future where your original programming outnumbers your repeats? Is that something you want to achieve?
Yeah.
And is that what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. It won't be this year, it won't be next year. And for us, it's about delivering great shows, great content through great brands to our viewers and people who watch our content. So that's fundamentally what we're there to do. But we stated really clearly that our ambition is to drive far more into origination and commissioning. So absolutely, that long-term goal of ours is for those shows to be dominating our schedule, which they kind of already do, but dominating versus, or rather by the volume of hours in the schedule rather than just purely about the ratings that they generate, which is where they currently are. So yeah, absolutely.
Good answer, Steve. And Adrian, commissioning original drama, is that where you're most interested at the moment?
Yeah. We're obviously we've talked a lot about scripted already, and we've done a lot of comedy already, and I think that given the range of genres that we're currently involved with, it feels like to have a more sort of complete portfolio approach in terms of the genres that we're going for. Drama is the next natural step for us to move into. So that's a definite ambition for us. It's obviously riven with risk. It's hugely expensive. We're looking at our options at the moment. There's nothing that we can really tell you at the moment about the types of things we might want to be looking for, but it's certainly on our radar and something that we're really interested in to start getting into next year.
Cool. I want to see more eggs. So we're going to look at, the score is 5 to beat. I know this is a slightly odd question and answer session, but anyway. So I think we're going to see Steve's. Yeah, we're going to see Steve's. We're going to see two versions of Steve's. We're going to see a close-up photo and then a wide shot. Is that right, Steve? Is that you sent me? Yeah, you did text me two photos. So there is Steve with some of his.
The close-up was supposed to show that I'm holding eggs, or that everyone is holding eggs. They are chocolate eggs, admittedly.
Are they?
But they are still eggs.
And do your employees always have to wear T-shirts?
They do. Well, not just anyone who's following me around, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
Has to wear a Dave T-shirt.
Okay. So there's at least 4 people holding eggs there. Do you want to go to the wide shot of that? I mean, it's one of the worst photos. one of the worst photos that's ever been taken.
There's about 25 to 30 people there. To be fair, this was at the
Dave party.
It was at the Dave party on Tuesday night. I actually had about 200 or so eggs with me, with the intention and the desire to get as many people at the party to hold eggs and get one big picture. I thought I'd get one in the bag before the party started.
Yeah.
All the people that were there working for the night with eggs.
It's unfortunate 'cause it doesn't look like a good party.
It was a
or a good
Anybody
picture.
there? Anybody at the Dave party?
What's the big thing in the middle?
That's a glitter ball, I think, isn't it?
Because the person who took the picture mainly focused on that. I mean, I'm going to say that so far Adrian is beating, because I don't know if anyone's holding eggs or if there's...
Surely the close-up was enough evidence that you need that eggs were being held.
Okay, well, you're in second place in that section, but I'm going to move on to another question. Okay, this is a good short question. What show over the last year are you proudest of? I would have said, of which show are you most proud?
Pedant. Should we all say?
I think so. Yeah, you can all say at the same time and see if you say the same. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Into the
Davina Power.
Oh, okay. That's not a good way of asking questions. So, Zapped, Davina, what was yours?
I said zapped as well, actually.
I just wanted to give you a bit of volume around one show, otherwise I thought no one would hear it. But
I think for Zap, it was, doing a brand new piece of scripted comedy is incredibly hard. I mean, outside of Taskmaster, obviously, doing another piece of scripted comedy is incredibly difficult, and getting those to cut through is I think one of the biggest challenges in TV. So for a new scripted comedy to break through, do over 500,000 viewers, and get such great kind of critical acclaim was a really, really kind of proud moment.
I think also for us, because obviously we've seen the full series that's coming up, so we're partly judging stuff that hasn't been out there yet, but I think they've really taken that show and moved it on. It's got so much more confidence, it's shot so much more fluidly, the world that they inhabit is so much better imagined, and it's super funny. We're really proud of it. Aren't we, Steve?
We are.
I like the phrase super funny. Yeah. What would you like to see more of? Oh, this is a good question, that you're not getting pitched yet. So what types of things are you looking for and what aren't you? Tell you what, first of all, tell me what you're pitched most often that you're not interested in so people can stop doing that.
History shows for yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Don't commission on yesterday. Don't commission history shows. So specialist factual shows, really. When people will send in ideas for sort of deep specialist factual shows, we don't commission those. Having said that, we are, if people are starting from a specialist factual position but coming up with something that feels massively entertaining and broad, there's always going to be a producer out there who's going to come up with a clever idea to reinvent something. So you could argue that Dr. Christian Will See You Now is a specialist factual show because it's about medicine, but actually it's a fantastic, entertaining features show. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing that we are desperately keen for is more Taskmasters. We, not that show, obviously, because that is uniquely brilliant, but shows like that, big, exciting, different, stretching of the genre, comedy entertainment shows that can play at 9 or 10. I think is the holy grail for us.
It's a slight failing, I think, if we're allowed to use the word failure in a session like this. But we've had great success over the last few years launching Dara O'Brien's Go 8-Bit, Alan Davis has the Untitled, Taskmaster, Dave Gorn, Modern Life is Goodish, and now we're bringing those back in greater volume. I think we feel that this year we should have launched some other shows. Right. So now we're really, really keen to find a number of other comedy entertainment formats, which I think that's an area that we're really leading in at the moment, and I think that's something we need to double down on and to make sure that we've got a real fresh range of shows coming through that are equally imaginative and quirky and unusual and funny.
When you're pitching a show, and you say you want big original shows, how important is it to worry about how much it's going to cost, or should you just pitch the show you want to make?
Well, cost is always going to be a factor, but importantly, when we came to the realisation some years ago that if we want to make a show, people don't do it more cheaply for us than they would for other people. We don't expect the people in this room to work more cheaply than they would for other people. So if we want to make a show with this editorial, it costs this amount of money, and we're very honest about that, and we're very realistic about that. Because we don't commission specifically to slot or tariff, we can be quite flexible about that, so we can divert funds in order to spend a bit more money to do this show we're really, really excited about. So it will always be a factor, but we will spend the same amount of money, broadly the same amount of money on our shows as other broadcasters will.
This is relevant. I think with Series 1 of John Bishop in Conversation With, now being shown on Dave, it was originally on W. With that now being on Dave, do ideas need to work across more than one of your channels?
I mean, the series isn't on, well, the new series is on W, and it's a show that we commissioned for W. There's an opportunity with Dave, because a number of the people he's spoken to are comedians, so just kind of like an opportunity to give that show a little bit more oxygen. So we absolutely commission for a particular channel. In that case, as we have with kind of Gold as well, is that we have channels that sit in a paid TV environment, and then we have channels in a free TV environment. And with Dave and with John Bishop, it's an opportunity to give to a completely new audience an opportunity to see that show. So for the talent, for the producers, for us as well, it gives us a way of extending the reach of that show to bring it to new audiences, so that when the new series comes onto W, hopefully there's just a greater amount of people out there who are aware of it and will then go to watch that new piece.
We haven't mentioned Taskmaster for 4 minutes now, so we're going to see your photo next, Hilary. Do you want to explain, again, Hilary was in Spain when the text came through.
I was on my holiday when the text came through.
And you did that, which is genuinely impressive.
I did that. And for those of you with better eyesight than me, you might spot that some people are in the photo twice. I am in the middle with slightly scary hair. It's a panorama.
But you didn't use Photoshop. You
no,
did one of those
no Photoshop.
So the people had to run around.
People ran with raw eggs behind the photographer, my daughter.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then just to sort of add, I said, when you get to the other side, hold it in a different position. So I think that worked sometimes.
Yeah, there's 19 people. Did it improve your holiday, having to do that?
It took up a vast majority of the last day of my holiday.
Quite right.
How many,
Frankly,
how
I
many
was quite
versions
stressed.
were there before?
Well, there was a version where I suddenly realised I was standing there in a bikini. And I just thought, no, that's not happening. So we had to do it again. No, actually,
but there is that version.
Yeah, that version does not exist, Alex, anywhere.
We have that.
Can I just say, all of the eggs, so this is a friend's house, and all of the eggs were made into rather delicious scrambled eggs. In the morning, I got sent a picture of it. My friends got very invested in this. They said,
right.
Will this help? I said, no, not really.
No, I would have preferred it if the eggs were just this... Hurled is the word. How much of a priority? Next question. We're moving on to the Eden Channel. How much of a priority is the Eden Channel, and how interested are you in new natural history originals? Is that your? Which channels are you in charge of?
Drama, Alibi, and Yesterday.
Right.
And yeah, but
Who's
I used to run Eden.
Who runs Eden?
Well, Luke Hales at the moment, but he's not here, so I can take it.
Yeah. You can.
So we developed a reputation some years ago for basically utilising some of the world-class natural history content from the BBC. We're in the factual part of the Sky EPG, so it's a relatively small channel in the network, but we're immensely proud of it still. A few years ago, we did an original commission with David Attenborough, a half-hour show, which is now transferred to W. It's David Attenborough's Natural Curiosities, a very intimate portrait, him, his personal stories, the things that interest him. So we're immensely proud of that, and it was a real seedbed for some of the other content that's now spreading across the network. But necessity means that to give that show adequate exposure, we've had to transfer it to W, because Eden is still relatively small, but it's well loved. So it is there. We don't really commission there. It's mainly there for BBC acquired content.
Okay. And why are you... Oh, this is a good question. Why are you keen... I think they've asked it quite aggressively. Why are you keen to take Dave to a younger audience? And how do you plan to achieve this?
Well, I think, TV... Okay. TV, advertising on TV is very much centred around younger audiences. So from a commercial point of view, it's important that we are still attracting those younger audiences. And in reality, the market for young audiences is getting more and more competitive, more and more difficult. There's been lots written about young people disappearing off TV, and I think 16 to 24s are down something like 25% this year, which is an enormous kind of drop. We are down half that, so as a network we're down about 12%, and actually Dave this year has just slightly increased its volume of 16 to 24 audiences over the last 12 months. So for us, that's really important. It's also about future-proofing the channel. It's making sure that as audiences come through and come into television, that Dave is there and being seen as a home for them, or where they can get content. So for a number of reasons, it's really important that we keep kind of ensuring that those younger audiences are not being alienated by by our channel. And UKTV is a network of 10 channels. Each of our channel has a different role within that network and does a different job. And one of the important things for Dave is to make sure that we are still bringing younger audiences into the business.
So is Zapped something that's aimed more at young people, or do you have
our
that in
originations generally do attract very young audiences,
right?
Of which Steve probably has all the numbers in his head. But I mean, Taskmaster, for example, is significantly above the average profile of 16 to 34s.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's good.
About 38%.
Right. But do you have it in mind when do you think that young people will prefer? I mean, do you test programs on? No.
Not exactly, but yeah, when we're thinking about what to commission, whether it's on Dave or on W, we are very conscious of our audiences, and part of the job of commissioners when producers come in is to try and explain the universe to them, because producers are pitching to all channels all the time, so they're carrying lots of different bits of information in their head, and a conversation they might be having with Channel 4 will be different for a conversation they're having with BBC One. But we are only thinking about our channels. That's what we do all day, every day. So that's the big shift. When you go from being a producer to being a commissioner, is really. It's not just the idea, it's about the context, it's about the channel. So we always say to producers when they come in who our audience is. Mm-hmm. And that's not the only people we want, but that's the prism through which we'll sort of, if you like, stress test the ideas and think, do we think that will appeal? On W, we're thinking about, a 30-year-old woman.
I think in terms of why, thinking about Dave, I think there's a real opportunity, because I think actually, we're not talking about going as young as E4. We're probably in the kind of the 10 years above that. But there's a huge opportunity, because those people are, I think, underserved. And that's proven by every time we put out a show like Diary of Brilliance, Go 8-Bit or Taskmaster, that actually young viewers or younger viewers pour in and watch it. Mm-hmm.
Podcasts, you've got a number of podcasts on Dave. Is that a way, the question is, will you use them to pilot new ideas for TV? I mean, I've done a podcast with you guys, and it was a good way of testing things if people are interested in pitching things. Are you commissioning more podcasts?
I think it's a great way for us to new ideas, new talent, and new territories, and try ideas in different ways and see what kind of catches. And I think podcasts was probably something we should do more of, actually, rather than less of. And actually, because we did a football one as well with Jimmy Bullard, which was really exciting. Again, bringing new talent. So yes, in all answer. I think we'll continue to invest in that. It's, as you say, a great opportunity to try new ideas with new people.
And then I've got this question: is there a particular talent that you're desperate to have working with UKTV? Is there somebody you have been badgering who's... No,
not really. There are lots and lots of people. We've got lots of conversations going on. And what I would do is I'd throw the door open, effectively, and say, look, we are here. We should be, I think, for talented people, a different path. So, there are other places you can go and get other shows made. But looking at John Bishop and Davina, those are two really good examples of shows that they wouldn't have got made elsewhere. And I think it's beholden on us to provide opportunities to a vast range of people. So I'd say come and talk to us, and we'll work with you to bring the ideas about which you're passionate about to screen.
Okay. Finally, this is the final question from you guys, unless anyone's desperate to ask something. Nicola Sturgeon is being uncharacteristically quiet. Why is that? That's the question.
Shall I?
It's a bit wooden today.
Shall I hazard a guess?
Yeah.
Because she's made of cardboard.
Made of cardboard. Yeah, she can't
what
talk.
Do you think?
You're winning at the moment, but we've not seen your photo.
Oh.
I don't know how to judge this, but you two are out. I've got you points-wise so far. You've both got 3 points because you came last in the first one, and I can tell you your photo of the Dave party will come last in this one. But I don't know how to judge Richard's one, so you can judge whether or not this picture has got more people holding eggs. Yeah, he's tried to be clever. He's got an infinite picture. So there's a picture of him holding an egg and a phone, and on that phone there's a picture of him holding an egg and a phone, and on that phone there's a picture of... And also on the right-hand side of Richard, there's a sign.
I think the task says most people holding eggs in the photo win. So I've put most people holding eggs in the photo.
Yeah. I feel like you've tried to be too clever there, Richard. Yeah. And everyone is very disappointed in you.
Maybe we should win the picture.
That's a shame at a time when we're talking about the next series of time.
Who's most important out of the four of you? Before I decide who wins? It's really good, Richard.
I'm saying nothing.
It's a pleasing photo, I think. Aesthetically, it's lovely to look at. I think it's really clever. It's really good picture. I think it's probably a draw between Hilary and Richard.
What did my text say when I sent you the text with the photo?
Oh.
Just said, I have to beat Watsham.
You did say that.
Have I beaten Watsham?
It is funny seeing how competitive people you two.
So I think one of the reasons Taskmaster works, other than your general brilliance, of course, is the fact that the comedians are so competitive.
Yeah.
And who'd have thought that commissioning editors would also be quite competitive?
Well, we've got 1 minute left, so I have to decide who wins. But you can split. I'm going to say these two wins. You can split Sturgeon. That's
Please don't
very rarely been said. Yeah, you can keep your Mars bar. But if you could all thank them. Thanks to our sponsors, Broadcast as well. But thank you very much for listening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking.